All right. So Simon, thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. We had spoken and took us a while to get reconnected. You have a little one at home and I got things going on, and those coronavirus thing kind of throws your day into it. You never know what you're walking into in the morning, right? In terms of what the day is going to look like.
You're absolutely right. With a 14-month-old, anything can happen.
Yeah, I was saying off the mic, I do not miss those days. I love my kids, but daddy, leave me alone. They want to deal with their own thing, and they're off fighting their own battles, so to speak, I guess, till they need us. That's what they do. Then they come back. Dad, can you help me with this? Yeah, I have problems. So that's another episode. But I want to talk to you about, WokenUp and what you're doing on the social entrepreneur side and all the good things you're bringing to the world. But maybe we could go back a little bit, talk about your background in financial services, kind of where you grew up, where you're from, especially with your Brooklyn accent. And we can talk about all that stuff. And then we'll get into WokenUp because it's this new exciting thing that I think everybody should look into.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So I was born and raised in the southeast of England. My dad was a lawyer in financial services. And I guess I did what a lot of kids around me were doing, which is follow their dad's chosen profession,
right?
Because you think you know what you're getting yourself in for.
Right.
So at the end of the last century, I started life in the city of London, working for one of the top 6 law firms, and had all the world's leading investment banks as my clients at the time. And anything that involves a tax haven,
right.
I was broadly doing as a structured finance lawyer for all the world's leading investment banks, including
so you were doing some sophisticated stuff, complicated stuff.
Derivatives specifically. And 2006, I decided I wanted to get to know the business a bit closer. So I moved to my favorite client, which is Barclays Investment Bank. And I specialized in a range of stuff there, but for my sins in particular, the stuff that caused the financial crisis. So I was an expert in cash CDOs.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of the people listening, they don't know what derivatives are. They don't know what cash CDOs are. They have no idea.
But the stuff that caused the financial crisis.
Yeah. And before Lehman fell in the United States, I don't think a lot of people really knew Barclays. Now their name's on the arena in Brooklyn, so everybody knows it's the Barclays Center.
And that was part of the end result of that period of time, of course, with Barclays buying Lehman's.
Right.
So very interesting time. But I left Barclays in 2014 to then run a trade association for investment banks and others for the derivatives industry.
And an English trade association, or
no? This is a pan-European trade association headquartered in London.
Okay.
A couple of years later, we merged with our equivalent trade association based in Washington, D.C. and out in Singapore.
So it came like a global.
Yeah, that's it. I swapped being head of Europe, swapped being CEO of a pan-European trade association for being head of Europe for a global one. And around about this time, I got divorced, unfortunately, and went through the process of this merger with this other trade association. I wasn't the CEO of the 2 organizations that won out to be the CEO of the merged organizations.
So right, you were just handling the division in Europe.
In Europe, that's right.
So what does a trade association do for these financial companies?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I guess I swapped being a lawyer for being a lobbyist. So I was looking to influence European regulation insofar as it applied to investment banks and others for a particular corner of the financial services industry. And basically you are advocating for their interests. You are helping with education, helping with standardization, and doing a heck of a lot of networking. So it's a real relationship business, both with the industry on the one hand, and then with politicians and regulators on the other hand.
Okay. Different than what you were doing before.
Yeah, different than what I was doing before, and that divorce, that merger would be followed by a first date with a beautiful Californian in 2017.
That's where the U.S.
turned my world upside down, and that's where my current story now really begins.
Right. Well, that's not a bad story because now we know you have a 14-month-old, so that worked out.
Yes.
Although you're probably more tired than I am, so.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Well, on that first date with Renee, who literally 365 days later would become my second wife, and 2 weeks after that, told me she was pregnant.
Okay, perfect
Hence
timing.
the 14-month-old.
Yeah.
So things on a personal front
Could do the
changed.
math backwards, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It moved very, very rapidly after that first date, and professionally, Renee has had a profound impact on me because she said, "Look, I'm from California. I'm a retired opera singer by training,
Oh,
but now I'm a life coach in my spare time. And you've been through this merger, you've got divorced. There's this bunch of stuff that might be there for you, and you might find life coaching could be useful." So I went on the life coaching, and what I got out of it was that I was happiest and most fulfilled when I was helping other people and making a difference on the causes that mattered to me.
okay.
And so, of course,
Renee was your coach?
no, Renee was not my coach, but she did recommend an organization to me called Landmark Worldwide,
Oh,
for whom she
Landmark,
was
sure.
volunteering.
Actually, I was
Landmark.
supposed to go to Landmark this summer or in June, and it got put off to the summer, and that's off till December because they don't want to do it remotely. So
That's
we'll see
right.
if I'm going in June. My friend of
I,
mine's a Landmark enthusiast. She just thinks it's the greatest thing in the world.
I look forward to hearing what you get out of it.
Yeah, I will.
What
She's been pushing me to do it. So
I found it utterly transformational.
yeah, that's what everyone says.
Yeah, and what I got out of it was, of course, the opportunity to buy into the next life coaching course. That's all they've got to sell you. The next course.
Well, that's what they do.
Right, that's the nature of being
That shouldn't
in
be
that
a
business.
surprise to any of the participants.
That's right. And so they said to me at the end of the second course, "Look, rather than a weekend course, why don't you come be coached for 4 months when you're not lobbying for Goldman Sachs and everybody else?
Okay.
And all you have to do before you start this course is to come up with a community project that breathes life into this revelation that you found for yourself, that you're Simon and you're all about giving back, helping others, and making a difference." And perhaps not surprisingly, my immediate reaction to that was, I don't know where to start.
Right.
And I realized almost at exactly that moment that I shared a problem with millions of people. I want to help other people. I care passionately about a variety of causes, but I don't know where to start.
Oh, so it wasn't like you were like, oh, I'm a social entrepreneur and I eventually want to do these things. And no, it was like this.
No, it was,
You're like,
I'm a
this is something
lobbyist.
I want, but I don't know how to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I was,
Okay.
I'm a lobbyist, I'm a lawyer, I'm being asked to create a community project in my spare time that breathes life into something, and I literally don't know where to start. So
Now,
I'd
you were here
identified
in
a
the States
problem.
at this point?
No, I was in the UK.
You
They
were
they
still
have
in the UK.
their European office is down the road from me here in North London.
So how did you meet Renee?
The joys of online dating. So
There you go.
yeah, and then yeah.
So she was
Dating.
in, but you said she was in California, I thought.
No, she is from California,
She's
but
from
she
California.
had
Okay.
previously married another Brit, an investment banker, as it happens. So she was in the UK already.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
But from California via
Okay, yeah, I was
Boston
gonna say long
and New
distance
York.
relationships. Boy, that was a quick one.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. It
Okay.
definitely wouldn't lead to
It'd be
marriage in
very hard.
365
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Okay. So you did, so all the landmark stuff you did was with the people in the UK.
That's right. That's
Got
right.
it.
And there I was. I realized I found this problem that I was sharing with millions of people, of wanting to help others, wanting to make a difference on the stuff that mattered to me, not knowing where to start. And I decided to go solve that problem as my community project. And I thought, well, on the one hand, this is about people like me, individuals who want to make a difference on the stuff that matters to them.
Okay.
Then I thought, well, the whole non-profit sector, they get out of bed every morning, and by definition, they do so to make the world a better place tomorrow. So there's something about bringing individuals and non-profits together. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, Wall Street and the City of London and the corporate world as a whole, increasingly, and this is in the spring of 2018, we're hearing about the words sort of purpose and sustainability. We've heard about corporate social responsibility and pro bono for decades, but now sustainability, ESG, whatever that is. And then I started environmental social governance.
Oh,
so
okay, good.
It's what companies are doing to be a positive contribution on social issues like Black Lives Matter or diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
and on environmental stuff, climate, sustainability, supply chains, etc., etc. And I realized that, there's this huge frustration with the way the world is right now, and we're not getting change very quickly. And I came to the conclusion that that's because, these people, these non-profits, these companies who are each taking action today to make the world that little bit better tomorrow on a range of social and environmental issues were fragmented across thousands of online and real world communities. And no one was bringing it all together to create the critical mass that you need to beat climate change,
So
to
they're all kind of fighting their own battles on the same
individually.
battlefield in certain cases.
Exactly. And because you don't know who cares about the stuff that you care about, and you don't know how to contact them, this fragmentation is working against you. And if you could bring together in a single place online a critical mass of people who care about the climate crisis, about sustainability, about curing poverty and hunger, about Black lives truly mattering, about gender equality,
Right.
so they could more effectively connect, communicate, and collaborate, then you can snowball something and drive lasting change. Notwithstanding that the mainstream media has a habit of focusing on this topic this week, then another one the following week, and we're always talking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and that's why we're not getting the progress at the rate that we'd like, because we're constantly switching what we're focusing on right now. And obviously, right now we're focusing on COVID, Black Lives Matter, and also that Joe Biden is very focused on Build Back Better as a concept, as is our own Prime Minister over here in the UK. So you can kind of think of WokenUp as the global social network for people who and organizations who want to build back better. That's what we're doing. But it all started with an accident. It all started with me going on a life coaching course, being invited to go create a community project, not knowing where to start, and doing that in my spare time. And where it ceased being an accident was where this idea of bringing together that critical mass of people who want to build back better started getting some traction. And for me, I found really purposeful and inspiring, to the extent that I decided to give up the day job that I'd spent doing for the last 20 years and go focus my full time and energy on growing a business that exists to empower you and millions of others to make the world that little bit better tomorrow than it is today.
So you were working at the trade association.
I was still working at the trade association as my day job, whilst I was sort of coming up with what is this thing, this community project that I'm putting together. And then I finished the course. I did another couple of courses just about communication. And my wife was pregnant. I was thinking long and hard about what I wanted to do in my life. And I came to the conclusion that, I really wanted something very purposeful, very meaningful, very impactful, where I could solve a real world problem and, if executed correctly, deliver transformational results for society as a whole.
Well, it's funny because WokenUp kind of follows with what you were doing, because a trade association is a coming together of people in a particular industry. And I think you're right. That's one of the problems, is there's not a lot of collaboration. I don't do a lot of nonprofit work. I do some small nonprofits in the United States, but I noticed that when it's like fundraising time, they seem to like just transfer money back and forth. I mean, they raise money from other donors and stuff, but they also send out requests to other nonprofit organizations, and it becomes this like movement of money around the circle, where the hospital, the children's hospital, raises money, but they also have funds to dole out for certain projects. So then everyone's kind of asking each other for money. It seems to be a very uncoordinated type of process.
Yeah, it certainly works differently in different countries. And certainly there's a lot of collaboration between charities. I was talking to one nonprofit yesterday that was about rehabilitating people into work, and they have 55 other nonprofits that they work with on the one hand, and a number of major corporates on the other. So certainly the opportunity for a lot of collaboration to be successful. And WokenUp is partly about that. It's partly about the nonprofit sector, but it's very much about the sort of zeitgeist at the moment, that as Generation Z, the under 25s, come of age, enter the workplace, become the largest generation of consumers, They really are very socially and environmentally active, very purpose driven, and they want to buy from and work for and invest in companies with purpose.
Right.
So if you're a company looking at today's world, then you're thinking, well, if I want to sell more stuff, if I want to hire the best talent, and if I want to get investment, I need to be talking more about what's the contribution that I'm making to society and on the environment, on the causes that matter to my stakeholders. And WokenUp is designed for the corporate world to be the place where you communicate in real time about the action that you're taking and the impact that you're making on those social and environmental causes that matter to your stakeholders, be it your employees or your customers or the talent you want to go hire tomorrow, or just the public at large.
Right.
So
No,
LinkedIn
because
is
I'm
very
sorry.
much about what you're selling,
Yeah.
the actual products that you're selling. Whereas WokenUp is more about what you're doing on the causes that matter to those stakeholders. And our design makes that communication a lot more immediate, a lot more accessible, a lot more impactful than if you're communicating the same information through LinkedIn, which is why an asset manager is referred to WokenUp as LinkedIn for ESG, LinkedIn for this environmental, social governance side of organizations.
Yeah. Any of the nonprofits that are on LinkedIn, they're just another company. There's no
right. It's
different.
Not
there might be
designed
groups
for
or whatever. It's not
really
designed that way. No, not at all.
That's right. So, if you are JP Morgan, let's pick an example. They're not on our platform right now, but they'd be using LinkedIn.
It will be
talk
after
about
all the millions of people listen to this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish.
You know where to find me, JP Morgan. They'd be talking about LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, their comments on the market, the products they're trying to sell you, some great stuff that their teams have done, awards they've won. This is more about, what is JP Morgan doing on sustainability, on diversity and inclusion, on green finance and sustainable finance and so on. So it's very much about the other side of the organization, all the stuff that tends to go into a responsible business report or a sustainability report. But those reports only get published once a year. So they're by definition full of stale data. Whereas what WokenUp enables you to do is to communicate that stuff in real time as the data is created in a much more immediate and engaging way for your stakeholders to consume and get their head around.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the user platform then. So you have corporations or entrepreneurs or startups or whatever that are not for-profit organizations that are members, right?
So we have three main user types. Yeah. So we have individuals, you and me,
just you and me. We feel good about the world. We want to change the world.
Yeah, okay. we care passionately about what we care about, and we want an outlet to communicate with others who care about what we care about, so we can drive change together. Then we have companies who want to talk about this side of their business.
For-profit organizations.
For-profit organizations.
Okay.
And then we have non-profit organizations who want to champion their cause and they want to inspire others to help them. They want to raise awareness of the impact that they're making, and they want to actually also get the human and financial resources they need to do deliver their impacts. So that's why we not only have a global social network with users in 75 countries, but we also have a job board that is entirely free for non-profits to use. For-profit companies get charged a small fee. We have a volunteering platform, again, free for absolutely everyone to use. And we're just about to launch, in fact, you're the first person to hear this externally, but we're just about to launch a donations platform in 2 to 3 weeks' time. So the idea in terms of the attraction for non-profits is, you've got a cause-led social network that's free to use.
Right.
You've got a jobs board and a volunteering platform that's free to use. And in 2 to 3 weeks' time, you'll be able to get donations through the platform as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer for non-profits because it's a one-stop shop to communicate your message, get the human resources you need, whether it be employees or volunteers, and get the financial resources you need through donations.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to ask you a question, but I shouldn't jump to it because you just answered the whole thing. So I get it. So the nonprofit, I understand because they're able to post and put information about their cause and ongoing things and things they're doing right now, right? And get interaction with, human beings like me who may have a cause or something I'm interested in, right? I can learn about how to get involved in the organization if I want to volunteer, or maybe I'm looking for a job because I want to do something more with my life or whatever. And obviously the donation part of it makes sense. They're all looking for donations. So to allow them to do that through the platform makes sense. So what does, and I understand as a user, as an individual, what I get to learn about and interact with the nonprofits. So how does a corporation use the platform? Obviously they use it from an informational standpoint, but how do they use it in addition to that?
Yeah, so we've got organizations that are using our jobs board to recruit talent through the lens of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I should just take a moment to explain what those goals are, because at the very core of our platform, and our jobs board is specifically the jobs board for these 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which 3 years ago, I'd never heard of these goals. Many people haven't.
Up until about 14 seconds ago, neither have I. So here we
go. That's it. So in 2015, the UN metaphorically shut its eyes and said, look, we, the United Nations, what would we like the world to look like in 2030? Okay. Well, we'd like a world with no poverty, with no hunger, with good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water, clean energy, decent work and economic growth, for it to be sustainable, for there to be action on climate, for us to be thinking about ecology, of preserving life on land, life underwater, and we want peace and justice, and we want strong institutions. And more than anything, we want partnership, we want collaboration to go achieve the things that I've just said, which together comprise the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. So they're, if you like, a wish list for how extraordinary the world could be by the end of this decade if we can just get enough people and organizations and countries and governments to come together in the spirit of partnership and collaboration to take enough action to achieve these outcomes by 2030. So,
and this was, you said 2015. So this was a 15-year time horizon for them.
This is a 15-year time horizon. Now, just under 10.
Right.
So the idea being that we can address the climate crisis if we can only take enough action and mobilize at sufficient scale. We can get gender equality by 2030 if we can just get the critical mass needed to create the tipping point that makes gender equality the norm, not the exception. Right? We can end poverty, end hunger by the end of the decade if we can allocate resources and responsibility better than we do today. It's not there isn't enough money in the world to solve poverty and hunger and homelessness. It's that the resources are allocated in a way that works against doing that right now. So it's all about, WokenUp really looks to bring together a critical mass of the people and organizations taking action today to build that better world tomorrow, in the belief that if we can help millions of people who care about what you care about to come together in a single platform and to use that to tell their story of what they're doing, to connect with others and to collaborate, then we can create together the tipping point that brings about this more sustainable and more equitable future that are represented by these 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay. So if I'm a corporation, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to, right? My concern is my bottom line. My concern is being able to attract the best employees. One of the ways of doing that is certainly being thoughtful, thinking as if employees matter, acting as if the planet matters, being sustainable, doing green things, right? So what do I get going to WokenUp as the CEO of a large corporation?
So as CEO of a large corporation, I get to hire purpose-driven talent, right?
Okay.
Because the very things that you just talked about communicating,
right.
What my organization is doing on gender equality, on sustainability, on climate, on charitable engagement, amongst other things.
Right. And the users are looking for those opportunities.
They're looking for that information, right? People, particularly the under 25s that are now coming into the workplace and becoming the largest generation of consumers this year, They want to hear about that side of your business as they're working out, who do I buy from, who do I go work for, and in time, who do I go invest in? And if you're not communicating this information, and if you don't have these values at the core of your business,
Right.
then you're not going to be thriving by the end of the decade. So WokenUp exists for you as a purpose-driven organization to go recruit purpose-driven talent and to tell your story of how you're supporting people who would come work for you through the way that you promote gender equality, through the way that you promote diversity more broadly, through it, and to be able to show, if you come work for us, this is how you can get involved in us being a positive contribution to society and the environment. This is what we're doing by way of charitable engagement. This is what we're doing to promote sustainability within our organization, etc. So it's really about communicating in real time what your business is doing on the causes that matter to your stakeholders.
So they're just like on LinkedIn or Facebook, they're posting things all the time. And
so take the Facebook and LinkedIn example. So take Facebook first of all. Right? We have users who want to quit Facebook and come onto our platform just as soon as we've rolled out private group functionality. Why? Because they don't agree with Facebook's values, which is important. Right. Very, very important. So they're looking for an alternative home where they can connect, communicate, and collaborate with people.
Right.
And of course, Facebook, now that it's connected a third of the planet, has enormous amounts of content. Or put another way, there's a huge amount of irrelevant noise on Facebook.
Yeah. No,
you have
it's
to
just like a
wage your way
garbage
through
highway.
to go
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
what you're looking for. Right. So that's Facebook. Okay. Just for some people, just Facebook's values are not consistent with what they're looking for. And if you think about the sort of content that is on WokenUp, it's social and environmental change, right? Facebook is increasingly perceived as a, let's say from a political perspective, a sort of right-wing platform, whereas our content is going to be a more natural home it's not going to be a natural home for someone who's sort of far right on the political spectrum.
No, you're more socially liberal people that are caring more about other people and so forth.
Right, exactly. So we sort of sit somewhere different on the spectrum there, and also have integrity, responsibility, and generosity as our three core corporate values. For LinkedIn, again, there's a lot of irrelevant noise. If I'll stick with my JP Morgan example, right?
Okay.
If I wanted to see what is JP Morgan doing on gender equality and sustainability, I could go to their website, but I'm going to spend some time trying to find it. Right. I could do a Google search, but it might take me to the fact that they're currently being sued for bad policies relating to gender equality or racial discrimination, whatever it might be. Something that JP Morgan doesn't want me to go see. Or I could go to LinkedIn, but on LinkedIn, they're so busy telling me so many different things. What they're trying to sell me, their commentary on the market. Someone X just got hired. Oh, and we're doing something for Pride Month this month. In order to answer that question, what are you doing on sustainability? What are you doing on diversity and inclusion? I have to manually read every single post on their LinkedIn feed, and one at a time, just sort of manually filter out the content that I want. There's no way on LinkedIn to press a sustainability button or press a diversity button, and suddenly there's just all the content JP Morgan's got on those topics.
Yeah, there's no focus.
Whereas there is on WokenUp. So every time you post on WokenUp and you add a tag to your posts, and amongst other things, you can tag a United Nations
just like the other systems.
No, we have different tags. So you can tag one of 5 ways. You can tag not only by hashtag like the other systems, but uniquely you can tag by United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, which is these goals are increasingly used by the global corporates as a way of communicating the social and environmental good they're doing. You can tag by the action that you've taken. So if you've hosted a podcast, you can have hosted a podcast as your action tag. And then you can tag by the help that you're offering and the help that you're seeking. Remember, the start of this was, I want to help others. And tags, when you add them to your post, they go onto your profile page. So if I want to see, what is Mitch all about on LinkedIn,
personal profile,
I have to go read your personal profile and read every single post. Whereas on WokenUp, I would see all the tags that you've applied. And from that, I can instantly see, Mitch only cares about these limited number of sustainable development goals, these particular hashtags. He's taken this action. He's got a great podcast. Brilliant. I'll just press that button and that will instantly filter out all the other posts. So I just instantly see his podcasts. And hey, Mitch is offering this help or seeking this help. So I can much more instantly see what you care about. And then if I was on JP Morgan's website looking for information about sustainability or diversity and inclusion, I would just literally look for hashtag diversity on JP Morgan's profile page, press that button, and it instantly and automatically filters out all the other noise, so that I just see the content on diversity.
Yeah, well, you would have to go to About Us and start reading things and looking for stuff.
No, no, you just have to go to their profile page.
No, I mean on their website.
On their website. Yes,
yeah.
On their website. Absolutely. Yeah, you have to spend time working out, well, where is this information held? Because where JP Morgan puts it is somewhere different from where Goldman Sachs puts it, which is different from where Citigroup puts it, etc.
Right.
So because we standardize the way information is presented on our platform, we make it much more instantly accessible. And we use our tagging system so that you can instantly get to the content that you'd be spending hours trying to get to through LinkedIn or your website.
I would think that people approach it from even a different standpoint. They don't go and say, well, what is JP Morgan doing for sustainability, for example? They might say, what companies are leading, right?
Absolutely. So how do we solve for that? Well, one of the big problems with
can't do it on the other platforms.
Exactly. One of the big problems with LinkedIn and Facebook and all the others, Twitter, is you've got algorithms. And these algorithms are putting stuff in your news feed. And these organizations basically think they know you better than you know you.
Right.
And so they're controlling what you get to see. I'm lucky enough to have 11,000 connections.
Yeah, that helps. Well, they know you better for what their purposes are. That's what the algorithms work for. They doesn't.
And so I don't get to see all the content from people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. Right. They cherry pick.
Neither do I. Right.
And put that in. Right. Whereas on WokenUp, you can say, as to your point a moment ago, what I really, really care about is sustainability. I want to see who is doing what around the world on sustainability. So if you press the little hashtag icon at the top of the screen, you can then go explore content. This is an area completely free of algorithms. So you can go see who's saying what about sustainability, either across the whole platform, even people you're not connected to, or you can just limit it to your network. And in time, you'd be able to have your own private groups. So you can limit it even further and say, within my private group, who's talking about sustainability or diversity and inclusion or whatever the cause might be that matters to you. So it puts you, the user, in control. That means no longer are you on social media, the victim of an algorithm. Right. No longer are you forced into a certain filter bubble where you only hear people that agree with you. You press hashtag sustainability and you get all the content on sustainability, some of which you may not agree with. It may be very different from your personal views.
Right.
That's the whole point. We're trying to break these filter bubbles, but give you content so you can better understand what the conversation is on all aspects of the spectrum and engage with it.
So you said right now you cannot set up affinity groups?
So you can't right now, but we are going to be rolling that out as soon as we can. We are literally, the last thing I did before I joined this podcast was give the spec to our developers to go develop it. So it's coming fairly soon. And we look forward to that, because what we are finding is that we're getting a lot of users who want to quit Facebook or want to have WokenUp in addition to other social networks.
Right, sure, that's what I see.
The big thing for them is they want to be able to communicate with their private community in a private environment where only the people in that group can see the content, right? So we've got nonprofits saying, as soon as you've got private group functionality, because you're more consistent with our values, because you're a cause-led social network,
right,
you're a much more natural home for nonprofits than Facebook. So let us know when you've got the private group set up and we'll shut our Facebook group and we'll migrate everybody over. That's great.
Yeah, sure, because they have their donors and their followers, and they might have a book club or whatever they're doing. They want to do it privately, sure.
Right.
You said you're in 75 countries?
We're in 75 countries. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
So yes, and corporates as well may want a private group, again, I'll stick with JP Morgan as my example. JP Morgan may wish to engage their staff
Right.
on what they're doing on a whole range of social and environmental issues, and could create a private group just for their staff to share what they're doing. So, as they go out and do a charitable event
Right.
as part of their day job, you can imagine them taking photos of all the great stuff they're doing and then posting it on the internal WokenUp private group so that they can share privately within this environment all the great stuff that they're doing.
Right. Because, yeah, a lot of corporations have gone away from the, extravagant holiday parties to encouraging their employees to vote, to volunteer. When my sister used to work at Bloomberg, and it was right around 9/11, they used to have before that. I mean, not that Michael Bloomberg's short on money, but he's one of the top philanthropists in the world, but he also used to have a very extravagant holiday party, because I had a friend who was a planner, used to run it for them, and we used to go to these things. They were ridiculous, but he also did a lot of things for good things for people. But after 9/11, they got rid of the party and they said, listen, we're going to have we'll spend the same amount of money we were spending before, $1 million or whatever it was, but we're going to pay to have our employees volunteer and do good things for organizations. So
from recollection, Bloomberg specifically spent something like $700 million last year or the year before on this side of its business.
Oh, for sure. I'm surprised it's that low. He gave $2 billion to Johns Hopkins in recent months. He's a big philanthropist, and he's obviously not running out of money. So
and this is increasingly what people want. There's this big debate now about why do companies exist? Is it?
I talk about it a lot on the podcast. If it doesn't exist because of people, like if companies don't act as if people matter and the world matters, then what's the point of them? If the planet doesn't exist and people don't exist, there are no companies. They don't run themselves. This isn't Skynet,
So historically, the answer is, well, they exist to act in the best interest of their shareholders. Brackets, screw everybody else.
Right.
Brackets. But there's a debate about that now. JP Morgan, as it happens, is so Jamie Dimon, the president and CEO, is chairman of this corporate group in America called Business Roundtable. And Business Roundtable last year put out a letter saying, 20, 30 years ago, we put a letter out and we said the obligation of a company is to act in the best interests of its shareholders, full stop. We've changed our minds. And actually, now we believe a modern company, the obligation of a company is to act in the best interests of all of its stakeholders.
Right. There's a balance.
Shareholders, but not limited. But there's a balance.
And some of those shareholders, by the way, a lot of them care about all these issues.
Absolutely.
So
it's all about, so WokenUp really exists to show, what are you doing then on the causes that matter to your stakeholders, and to communicate that in real time. So really engage with this stakeholder capitalism movement to show that you're a company that deeply cares and aren't just about the bottom line and profit at all costs and to hell with everybody else, but you're balancing profit with purpose. You're using your corporate power to deliver positive social and environmental change, as well as deliver wonderful financial services products.
Yeah, and it gives them the opportunity from a public relations standpoint to show their investors, their stakeholders, the people that want to join their organizations, that they are a woke, and it has nothing to do with WokenUp, a woke organization, that they are progressive, that they are thinking about the planet and the people on it and things like that. And especially, like you said, the younger generation, Generation Z. I interviewed a gentleman from one of the universities who writes on all this stuff, the different generations, and apparently Generation Alpha is behind Generation Z. And then we go from there. They're going to care even more about this stuff. They care about quality of life. They don't want to be commuting every day with the, the masses. They want to have a different kind of lifestyle, and they're going to want to care about all these things. They're the generation that grew up bringing reusable shopping bags to the supermarkets. And they're the generation that grew up where everything is connected online. And if you want to make a statement about something, you can do it. Could you imagine what the world's going to look like for your 14-month-old when they're a teenager?
Right.
I mean, and if we go through something like this again, that accelerates things that are going on in the world, connectivity, knowledge, collaboration. I really think your point about collaboration, I think, is an important point to talk about, because I think that's the missing link. Look, right now in the United States, we have a very close-minded, self-centered leader of our country. He doesn't really care about much except himself and his promotion of his brand and so forth. But for presidents who are in politics to, do good things and to help the world, even from sustainability, there are things going on in the world that other countries are doing that we can learn from. And there's things that we're doing that other people can learn from. And when you do things like pull out of the Paris Accord, and even if you disagree with it, walking away from the table doesn't help, the problem. And I think that's a good value of your platform, is that it's bringing people together to collaborate in times
Exactly
of
right.
difficulty,
Yeah, you very kindly mentioned the W word earlier, woke, a couple of minutes ago, and I'll take a moment to clarify. The origin of the name WokenUp.
Right, because we had talked about this off
Yeah,
the microphone.
it's not. Hey, I'm woke.
Right.
Woke as a branding, if you like, has a sort of mixed. It brings out strong feelings in people, both positive and negative. It's not about that. It's very much the idea of transformation, right? This idea that I've really woken up to how many homeless people there are in my neighborhood, and I hadn't seen it before, but something.
Right, but now that I'm home every day, I can see what's going on in the world.
I've really woken up to this climate emergency, and I'm worried. Something. I want to be part of the solution. So connect me with opportunity to be part of the positive change, so that I can find a place to start to make a difference and help others on the causes that matter to me. So that's the idea of woken up. And in the context of COVID, we went into COVID in the UK. We had a nationwide lockdown, as did other countries. And a lot of the conversation there was, when this is all over, what's going to happen? Whenever that is.
I hear you guys are spiking again, right?
Yeah, we're spiking again. And we're thinking, when finally the spikes die down, what world emerges from this? Are we going to go back to how it was before?
No way.
Are we going to build back better?
Right. I think we can.
I think we can. And WokenUp exists to bring together a critical mass of the people and organizations taking action to build back better.
Right.
So that actually happens. So we look to be the delivery mechanism for this more sustainable, more equitable future that Build Back Better represents, by connecting you with a critical mass of other people who care about what you care about. And then for you to communicate, hey, this is what we're doing. And if you need help, to go get that help through our platform, whether that help be recruiting someone, getting a volunteer, or just, any help. And that's why within the social network, you can tag your posts by the help that you're offering, the help that you're seeking. So we create a mutual aid network as a subset of our social network for good.
Yeah, well, I hope that you are successful, because, the best stories I've seen from a micro standpoint, local microcosm of what's going on in the world, the most successful businesses that are, I wouldn't use the word thriving, but doing well during the pandemic, are the ones that have reached out to other businesses and some nonprofits in the area and frontline workers, and are collaborating to get through this, to make it a better time. The restaurant that has some outdoor dining, and he's hanging in there. He goes to the coffee guy at the train station, who's basically shut down because nobody's going on the train, and says, hey, why don't you come to my restaurant? I was just talking to a guy the other day, and open up your coffee shop, because I'm not open in the mornings. We serve lunch, we serve dinner. He comes over there. It brings customers in for the restaurant who see the restaurant, don't normally go there. He's back in business. And I've seen a lot of that stuff. I've seen pizza guys put together things. Hey, listen, we got a pizza kit. Everybody can make pizza at home. And we're going to give 10% of the frontline workers. And then we have people that supply restaurants that said, well, we got all this extra supply now from the farmers because nobody's buying for the restaurant. So let's bring this to other people. And there's been a lot of that going on. But globally, it's a fantastic idea. So how many users do you have on the platform?
So we've got about 120 organizations on the platform at the moment. We've got we're announcing a huge partnership with a very, very well-known global nonprofit that is running a campaign next month, predominantly in Africa, where they're going to be driving up to 100,000 under 25s to our job board and our volunteering platform.
Okay. Well, you can't say the name, but hopefully by the time this gets
edited the name,
and is out there in 3 to 4 months, it'll be out there already. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really excited by that. And we're close to announcing a partnership with a FTSE 100 organization. And I'd say we've got these users in these 75 countries. So we're really focused on, where do we want to go? And if you can imagine a platform where everyone, where you could go to as a sort of daily news feed of who's doing what on the stuff that matters to you.
Right.
That's what WokenUp's designed to be. If you can imagine all those good news stories you were just talking about, if you could go be inspired by all these great things that people are doing every day, to give you inspiration, either to join them
Hope.
or
Give
do
you a
your own
hope.
thing. Right, give you hope. Yeah,
We're going
exactly.
to get
Give you
through
some
this.
positivity.
Yeah.
So, I think of WokenUp. Where does WokenUp fit in the social media space? Well, if LinkedIn is the social network for your brain, and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and others are the social network for your eyes, Twitter is definitely going to be the one for your mouth, then WokenUp's the social network for your heart.
I like
It's
that.
the stuff that you care about.
I like that a
and
lot.
what you and others are doing about it.
Right. So if I'm an individual, I can go to wokenup.com. I mean, we'll put all the links in the show notes, but I can set up my own profile, right? And I could get notified of anything that's going on the platform and follow, like with other, I can follow any organization I want
you
to,
can
right?
connect and follow. You can message. If you press the hand heart icon in the bottom right hand corner, you get into our jobs board and our volunteering platform. And in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be formally announcing the launch of our donations platform. So these sustainable development goals are at the core of our platform. According to the UN, represent 380 million job opportunities by the end of the decade. But if you want a job in sustainability or climate change or clean energy or diversity and inclusion, there's no one jobs board that's bringing it all together, and that's what we look to do. And if we achieve these 17 goals that I talked about earlier, everything from climate to gender equality to the end of poverty and hunger, etc., by 2030, they again reckon this unlocks $12 trillion of economic opportunity per year if we can just achieve these goals by 2030. So
well, there's
we're
the
really
reason
looking
for
to
doing it right there. People are like, well, I make
that's
more
it.
money doing this. That's not true.
No, so and that's part of what COVID has come to show is the strength, the economic strength, when you take into account these environmental and social issues and risks when making your investment decisions, because these ESG investments are outperforming the non-ESG investments. So actually, it's better for your business, it's better for your investment portfolio,
right,
if you're able to get information about who's doing what on environmental and social issues, so that you can invest, you can buy, you can work for companies in a more informed way, making the planet that little bit better, making your community that little bit better as you go along, and delivering better economic outcomes for you and for others.
Yeah. So
So it's kind of
ironically,
win-win.
It is better for your shareholders. We just never saw it that way. We're too short-sighted or whatever it happens to be.
That's it.
All right. Well, I will say this. It is the middle of October right now. It's going to be several months before the episode comes out because, my staff of 50 have been furloughed when it comes to editing and so forth.
Yeah.
So most likely when people are listening to this episode, they should go to WokenUp. A lot of these things, including the donations platform, your new organizations you're working with, have probably rolled out.
Yes.
And they should definitely get signed up. And I guess they can follow you too, not only in the platform, but on other social media platforms interact with you.
Yeah, that's right. We're on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and of course our own social network at WokenUp.com.
Yeah, so you got to get all the other guys to be on your platform, right? Like Mark Zuckerberg and Reid Hoffman and all these guys.
They would be very, very welcome. It'd be great because a lot of them are very committed philanthropists, as well as hugely successful entrepreneurs. So it's designed to be the place where they and others would communicate all the great stuff they're doing to be a contribution to other people and take action on the social and environmental causes that matter to them, whatever that might be.
All right. Well, Simon, I appreciate you coming on today, spending time with me, explaining WokenUp. I hope people go there. I'm definitely going to go and set up a profile and learn about this, stay in touch and see as it's growing and make my little, I don't know what the little attorney can do in little corners of the world. But everybody can make a difference. I just don't think that they think they can,
The honest answer is, your firm will, I hope, have policies that actively promote gender equality, that actively do not discriminate against people from a certain ethnic minority or a certain sexual orientation. You might be thinking about how can we make the office more sustainable, you know, and so on and so forth. So your organization is doing a lot on that side of things, and WokenUp is designed to be the platform to communicate how you're being a positive contribution on the stuff that matters to your employees, your customers, and so on.
Very good. Well, I'll leave it there. I appreciate spending the time with me, and